Hi, I'm Taylor Pope, the producer on Harbinger of Spring.
And this is Sean Grafin, art director on Harbinger of Spring.
Today, we are going to be talking about our game currently in post-production. We're going to be showing gameplay, talking about the game itself, and some of the world's narrative, as well as discussing some of our current development plans.
Harbinger of Spring is a first-person sci-fi multiplayer shooter set in an ancient temple. The temple was created by a precursor race known as the Aeonians. In this temple is the Tree of Life, which is our crowning achievement as a species. The players are different factions of humans who have come to this holy place to steal sap from the tree to restore their dying planets. However, what they don't realize is this tree is not just the start of all life, but the thing that controls it, and the more they harm the tree, the more life in the universe fades.
The gameplay itself is not a simple deathmatch, but it's a free-for-all objective-based asymmetrical play. Players compete against each other to collect one of the containers on the map and deposit it into the correct terminal for points. Players may fight and defeat each other at any given time, but no points are ever given for kills. The objective of the game is the successful acquisition and deposit of the container while fending off all challengers. To make the gameplay loop less repetitive, the drop-off point, called a terminal, changes between various predetermined options. Additionally, different spawners, called extractors, change the flow of the map from run to run. Points are awarded based on the time remaining since the container was originally picked up. Once a container is successfully deposited, a new one spawns at one of the possible spawning points. Additionally, the carrier's HUD tells them the exact terminal to go to, but the players who are not carrying the container are told the exact location of the carrier. We are purposely not telling all players where the next pickup and drop-off is to avoid players being incentivized to sit still in camp locations.
Don't quit now.
Since players can defeat each other, they can also pick up the dropped container and deposit for themselves. To make things a little bit easier, the carrier has their speed reduced and their dash recharge is slowed. And we'll talk about the dash system in a minute.
To talk more about the setting of the game, a lot of architecture was inspired by structures created in early human civilization. The goal was to illustrate this idea of life being brought to Earth by this Aeonian race, who built monumental structures that future generations of humans would try to emulate. When looking at the architecture of these early humans in Africa and India, we noticed a lot of emphasis on elevation as it relates to holy sites. Most often, these cultures would build religious sites on top of monumental, pyramid-like structures to make them the highest point of their settlement. We decided to use this idea when designing our map. We really enjoyed the idea of this central pyramid that was once a sacred site that was not meant to be accessed, with the Tree of Life being at the peak. We wanted to illustrate the sense of age in this environment as a whole. This temple has survived long past the extinction of the Aeonian race and has been largely abandoned, left to decay. The foliage has started to grow out of control and the walls are crumbling. One location we really wanted to develop was a basin below the pyramid. It was an area that was once totally filled with water to help the Tree of Life flourish, but has since been emptied out, leaving behind a dense, harsh swamp that is quite different tonally than the rest of the map. We also wanted to show an element of human destruction in this base. The humans in Harbinger live in the near-distant future where technology has flourished, but the natural life on their planets is dying for reasons they can't understand. The humans in this game are a representation of this overarching idea of desecration. They are willing to do whatever it takes to keep their planet alive, even if it means destroying a sacred temple of a species that came long before them. As with the natural decay of the temple, we wanted to create a sense of a timeline of how the humans interacted with this space. The first humans came to this place with a small amount of equipment with the hopes of studying the Aeonian culture. Over time, they became reckless and would destroy some of the space with their large excavation equipment. That is the state of the environment now, largely abandoned by those who had respect for it, and taken over by desperate human barbarians who do not want to see their homeworlds die.
Now that we've covered the basic objectives of play, we'll talk about the movement and gameplay more in depth. The first thing you may have already noticed is the speed of movement. This game is a much higher base movement rate, a speed closer to the Quake tournament and Doom 2016. This is because this game was inspired heavily from other arena shooters. Players may run, sprint, jump, double jump in the air, and dash. Our dash system allows for omnidirectional movement based on the keyboard inputs. This allows players to pivot in the air or pivot on the ground for quick bursts of speed, to get to new locations, to avoid enemies, or to create interesting combat strafing moments. These movement systems layer upon each other to create a fast-paced and vertical style of play. Currently, players start with the SMG and a default pistol. This pistol has infinite ammo, so that if players exhaust their SMG or their picked-up weapon, they have a fallback. In addition to the SMG, we currently have a shotgun pickup and plans for a heavy laser weapon that is already in the works. The last weapon is the pistol that only the carrier uses. This upgraded pistol packs a much heavier punch, but it is also the only weapon that a carrier may use. As we mentioned earlier, there is a dash system with a cooldown. That cooldown has a trade-off with the shield that players may choose to make. The dash can be used early, but in exchange for a part of the player's shield. There are power limitations that even such a powerful suit of armor can't quite break. Obviously, we've already mentioned this is a multiplayer game. Our goal has always been to create and continue to develop the tech around that to make the game run better. The best environment for really showing this kind of gameplay is a LAN connection. We're also improving our UI, some HUD tweaks, new animations, improved audio mixing, and some additional environmental polish. Our lobby systems are already fully functioning. Players can join, leave, select their personal colors and names, and that will show up in the game. Hosts can set victory conditions and other features like map size. All of this polish is ongoing, and we're excited to see where it'll lead us. Thank you for taking the time to review our entry, and we look forward to hearing from all of you and probably seeing you this week at Game Jam.